103.2 Preston FM.
Your community.
Your radio.
It's lovely, as always, to welcome my next guest, our regular guest here on to Chat City, and it's Heather Crook from the Preston Magazine, and Steve Hallowell. And whenever I meet Steve, I always think of pubs and inns. He's one of those people. I don't need a lot to think about pubs and inns, but when I think of Steve, I think of pubs and inns. So a very good morning to you both.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hope we find you well this morning.
Yes,
very
although I think Heather's a bit of a cold, is it?
A bit of a cold cough, yes.
I know. And we were broadcasting, I was just mentioning off from, we're broadcasting tonight, we're doing a Chat City special tonight from Galloway's over there in Penwortham, but we were there on Wednesday, and I was reading some of the news stories from one of the Penwortham magazines, and I mean, there's some fascinating stuff. I was reading stuff from the 1840s, and two of them was about the local doctor who'd had accidents out in his trap whilst visiting patients or returning over the bridge, and it was quite fascinating stuff. And another one from Preston Chronicle 1840 about the Black Bull, which I don't know if Steve knows anything about the Black Bull, but apparently the Preston Chronicle, March the 14th, 1840, reported that there was a late-night burglary at the Black Bull. Hey?
All about it.
Yeah, you know all about that one, do you, Steve? Yeah. Why am I not surprised? And whenever we have you both in, I mean, Heather reads a kind of serialisation from the biography of your father. And I think that's what you're going to do right now, is it, Heather?
I am. I'm going to read a little piece about Easter time.
Easter time, what year are we looking?
We'll be looking about 1926.
About 1926 Easter time. Okay, over to you.
So it says, early in the year, there was Easter Monday, when in the afternoon we joined 30,000 or so other kids and their parents for the egg rolling festivities on Avonham Park. There was skipping, even the adults took part. Younger people danced round the bandstand to the music played by St. Vincent's Brass Band, all the boys dressed in sailor suits. St. Vincent's was another orphanage, which was capable of housing well over 100 children, as did the Moorfields and the Harris orphanages, and also Shepherd Street Mission. My home, Ivy and Sunnybank, were small fry compared to them. Our eggs were hard-boiled, cooked in onion skins and coffee, which made them yellow and brown respectively. Hundreds of small girls escorted by proud parents, beautifully dressed and hair curled, vied with each other over who had the biggest and best baskets. All shapes and sizes bedecked with ribbons ensconced with the chocolate in silver paper eggs. Beautifully decorated with designs in icing, little flowers of coloured icing, and small chocolate eggs with little fluffy chickens nestling in them. They made my eyes water. I longed to eat one. The little girls wore long white stockings, patent shoes, long white gloves, and had pink cheeks and heads of glorious blonde, brunette and ginger curls. They certainly caught my eye. After the eggs had been rolled and broken, they were then devoured. I can tell you, 2 hard-boiled eggs take some getting rid of, especially when you have nothing to drink to wash them down. Some years oranges took their place, at least they were juicy. The day after we went scavenging, looking for the odd penny dropped or a bit of chocolate still in its silver paper. Empty bottles to take back to the purveyors for the penny on return. Or if there had not been a heavy dew, the odd fag or big stump discarded. Of course the park cleaners were there before us and gleaned more than us. In a few weeks' time it would be Whitsun, and that would be double dues, the procession and the fair.
Brilliant, thank you for that, Heather. There you are.
You're welcome.
Memoirs from Arthur Eric Crook. And for those of you who don't know, if you've not heard Heather on the radio before, it's the Preston Magazine that comes out free. The last one, am I right, was issue 17 in February 2014?
Yeah, that was February. We're doing a March-April issue.
March,
coming
April,
out next week.
And that's coming out soon. And you can, I think you can also now get it online, can't you?
Yeah.
So if you miss
can
it...
go to Preston blog and download it, Blog Preston.
Right. And
We've always got one available.
it really is. There's some fascinating stuff in this magazine, so if you've not had a copy yet or seen a copy of the Preston Magazine, then have a look on Blog Preston and get it from there. But I know by putting Preston Magazine in the search engine, which I've done, I know that it does bring copies of the magazine up. So you are now viral around the world, Heather. I don't know if I don't know if you knew that or not, but from the beginnings of putting Preston Magazine together, you're now viral. And particularly, I mean, given this year and the Great War, I mean, one of the stories that I was reading the other day when I was in Penwitham waiting to go on air was Joshua's War. And that's a Preston soldier's diary of action in the trenches of World War One, and is absolutely fascinating. And just remind us, Heather, how that came about.
Somebody who reads the magazine had got in touch with me to say they had the great uncle's diary and would I be interested in serialising it in the magazine. So of course I said yes, and it's been in the magazine for 3 issues now. And the interesting thing about it was I had a phone call from a lady in Blackburn who was the sister or the niece, I can't remember, of Joshua.
Wow.
She'd never read the story.
She'd not?
No, and I've been sending her the rest of the magazines for her and her family.
I mean, this is the thing, isn't it, about these magazines, is you just don't know who's reading them or the contacts that you're going to get out of the blue, or people making contact with you wanting to share information and stories in the magazine. And I keep mentioning just the Preston magazine, but of course there is the Penwitham magazine
and the Lost Call magazine.
And both those magazines then do have different information and stories particular to that area.
Yeah.
So how difficult is it to get the information then to keep all these magazines
I'm always on the
going?
lookout, and I'm always asking people to send me the memories because they're the ones that people enjoy the most. And I look in the old newspapers, anywhere at all, I'm always scouring for information.
And since we last met, without giving too much away, any really new stories come to light? Have people been in touch that we might be able to read about in the next magazine?
Yes, there's a lady from Lost Call who's been reading the magazine for quite a while, and she rang me the other day to say she was putting her memories together, and she read me the first page, and I said, yeah, that's great. The readers will really enjoy it.
Right. So there you are, you see. If anyone listening has memories, photographs, information, and you'd like to share it with Heather for the magazine, how's best to contact you again, Heather?
You can ring me on 07733 321 911, or you can write to me at 121 Broad Oak Lane, Penwitham, PR1 0XA, or email me at theprestonmagazine@gmail.com.
Brilliant, okay. And someone else with me in the studio who I know is always seeking information and news and history or whatever is Steve Hallowell. Steve, very good morning to you.
Hello again. Yeah.
And as I was saying earlier, whenever I think of you, and again, people can find out that, well, they can read articles that you do in the LEP. Is it on a Tuesday?
On a Wednesday night.
Is it Wednesday night in the pull-out section?
Yeah.
So you can read about Steve in there. And also again on web, you can go to Preston's Inns, Taverns and Beer Houses. And someone who's in quite demand to give talks, etc. And I think there's one coming up soon, is there, Steve?
There is indeed, and it's a change of direction. This one is in the middle really of a series of talks about a man called Moses Holden, who nobody seems to have heard of.
Right,
and yet
apart from you?
Apart from me, and I'm in the process of addressing that small problem. Moses Holden was born in 1777 in Bolton, but at the age of 5, he and his family moved to Preston, and he remained here until he died in 1864 at the age of 87. Long and interesting life. He was a self-taught astronomer and mathematician.
Yes.
He went on to become a lecturer at large theatres throughout the northwest of England. And when I say northwest of England, I recently, within the last 6 months, came across evidence of him having given a series of lectures at the Theatre Royal in Nottingham. Now, Nottingham is nowhere near the northwest of England, so how far he did go, we've yet to discover. He made his own telescopes. He made his own orrery for use in with his lectures. An orrery, incidentally, is a clockwork instrument that is designed to demonstrate the movement of one planet with another. And you can have a simple one that just demonstrates the sun, moon and the earth, or you can have a more complicated one that demonstrates the movement of all the planets. Needless to say, Moses Holden made one that demonstrated the movement of all the planets. The engineering skill to do that is quite phenomenal, and don't forget, this man was self-educated. He went on to be involved with the foundation of our current university. It's a long story between what he founded and the university, but the university themselves claim the foundation in what in most towns would have been the Mechanics Institute, but in Preston, Moses Holden decided it was to be called the Institute for the Diffusion of Knowledge. Some say he said the Institute for the Diffusion of Useful Knowledge, but we're not likely to discover the exact truth. And funnily enough, his name appears on the memorial stone in the new Euclan Library on Adelphi Street as one of the founders of the university.
Right.
Another name on that foundation stone was Joseph Livesey, the temperance movement man. And Moses Holden was involved with the early days of the temperance movement. But when Joseph Livesey decided to up the ante and make it a total abstinence movement, Moses Holden lost interest. Not because he was a drinker, but there were other reasons. And if you want to know those reasons, you could come along to hear my talk at Hutton Village Hall on Tuesday night, April the 1st, 7:30. Visitors welcome.
And where did Moses Holden live in Preston then?
He lived in Jordan Street, which runs at the side of the County Hall, off Fishergate Hill. From the station, Pitt Street is the first one by the side of the County Hall. On the other side of the County Hall is Jordan Street, and it runs down to the frontage of Christ Church, where the frontage still stands, and behind that is part of the county offices. The clock on there was kept correct by Moses Holden from his readings from the sun. The information passed to he who maintained the clock, and it was known as the best kept time in the town.
Wow, fascinating. And that's when we're talking, when?
1777 to 1864. He lived in Jordan Street, possibly 40 years. My feeling is it was from when they were built, so whenever that was,
right.
And I've never discovered. But Christ Church was built in 1835, and it was another 20 years before they could afford a clock.
I would also imagine that the people who were going along to listen to him were mesmerised in those days by astrology and astronomy, because, I mean, it was...
Correct.
It must have been an absolutely fascinating subject for people to go along and hear.
He drew big crowds, and between 1815 and 1828, when he was engaged on this grand tour of the Northwest, including Nottingham, he made what we would probably regard as a fortune, and by the 1841 census is describing himself as a gentleman.
Right.
And if you're a gentleman, you have money.
Nice. What a lovely story.
Yeah.
So, again, people can come along. Where's that then? Again,
It's at
Steve?
Hutton Village Hall. It's behind the grammar school, adjacent to the little row of shops just beyond Hutton Grammar School, travelling from Preston.
Brilliant. Well, Heather, Steve, again, privileged to
May
meet
I
you
just
this
add a
morning.
little bit?
Yes, go on quickly, Heather.
We believe that the orrery of Moses Holden is still lurking in a storeroom somewhere in Preston. So if anybody knows where it is, please get in touch.
So we don't know, but we think it could be. Wow. So if anybody has any information or knows anything, then...
possibly the university.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. Be great if we could find out then.
Not half.
Yeah, for next time we meet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Heather and Steve, pleasure to meet you and
Many
see you
thanks.
again soon. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the interviews as much as we have. Why not give us a tweet at Chat City PFM?